Kia ora koutou katoa, haere mai to another episode of SidekickTV. If you are watching this on YouTube, make sure you subscribe below. And otherwise, if you're also in our Sidekick Business Lounge, then you'll be seeing this a week early. But today we've got Clive from Antony and Mates joining us today to talk about how do you communicate with Gen X.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, Clive.
How you doing, man? Good to see you guys.
But yeah, I was really keen for us to run this session on how do we communicate with Gen Z, because A, not everyone knows who Gen Z is, but B, this seems to be a real speciality of yours, how do you engage with them? So can you tell me first, who are they? Who is Gen Z, and why are they different?
Yeah, so I think, there's so many different sort of definitions of Gen Z, Gen Y, blah, 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 but I think for us really from the kind of work that we're doing, we're really looking at those younger people who maybe they're as old as maybe 22, 23, but maybe even as young, so like 13 and 14 and stuff like that. So it's really that sort of that next generation of sort of young adults coming through society, and they are a really, really unique and really, really cool group of people, and so different to even for me as I guess a millennial. And what that looks like. And so, yeah, for us, it's actually about figuring out a way, and I think we've done that quite well with some of the content that we've created for clients around how do you communicate well with them. And it comes down to actually being really, really authentic. And
Right.
And it's a word, authenticity, it's a word that gets thrown around quite a lot in sort of content creation circles and marketing and advertising. But I think the real difference with Gen Z is they're really, really socially aware, and I think they are the result of actually growing up, really digitally enabled. Google's always been at their fingertips. You've got kids who are used to sort of working and sort of navigating themselves around a touch screen, starting from the age of 5, which is stuff that none of us got to do, right? And so because of that access to technology, that wealth of information, you've got kids now who are 13, 14, 15, 16, thinking about social entrepreneurship, which is something that I certainly wasn't thinking about when I was that age. I was still keen to ride my bike and play a bit of rugby and hockey and stuff. But so they're really, really switched on. And so from an advertising perspective, it's actually not about just putting out a product piece for the sake of it. It's actually take them on the journey.
It's not like it sounds like they're probably quite sophisticated consumers.
Yep.
Us at that age, you chuck an advert of Lego in front of us and that's it. We just want that Lego.
Yep.
But these guys, they want to know more about it when you say they're socially conscious, socially aware.
Yeah. And at the time when we were going through Varsity, it was very much, you'd look for that golden ratio and sort of the price point to, the amount of alcohol that you're getting, right? And you didn't really care what was in it. If it was high in sugar, if it was high alcohol, low alcohol, all that sort of stuff, it didn't matter. If the price point worked out really well, that was what you go for. Yeah. But now we're seeing, to keep that drink sort of illustration going, we've seen a massive change in the market where younger people are actually now going for soda-based, zero sugar, low carb alcoholic drinks, and yes, they exist. And it's for them, it's because they're conscious about their health. So they still want to, party and drink and do what normal university kids do. But there's that extra level of health consciousness and all that sort of stuff as well. So it's bizarre, but yeah.
Because when you say they're more digital aware as well, because I was thinking about this when you see traditional like Facebook advertising, which has sometimes been a little bit subliminal. Would you say they're quicker to spot out ads than older generations would be?
So the research is really clear that Gen Z do not like to be advertised to. And so the way you want to capture them, so I've got this sort of idea that what we try to bring into the messaging that we create for our clients is actually the first step is attention. And if you can capture their attention, then you can start having a conversation about awareness. And so I think once you can get them your brand recognition in front of them, then you can start saying that story of why should you be involved in this journey of, this type of drink that we're creating or this particular clothing brand that has a social impact behind it and all that sort of stuff. So attention and awareness are kind of the two things that we really, really look at when we're creating content and messaging strategies.
And when you talk about those other aspects, you're actually telling more of a story about the brand, how have you engaged with this or that, being socially or environmentally conscious. I pre-thought of a question for this was around, why can't typical business owners, millennials and boomers and older, why can't they sell to Gen Z? Is it because of that? Is it because there isn't the background behind the product that they want to sell, or they're not telling the story?
I think it's a mixture, but also, I'm quite aware when I first started the agency 3 years ago, I was very much advertising to, I guess, my peers, and that's the type of work because I was in my early 20s and sort of mid 20s and stuff like that, and so that really worked well for me. But as I started getting older, I realised I'm actually getting a little bit out of touch as well. So from like an agency perspective, I've been very conscious in bringing in people that are from that age group as well. So I mean, there's so many benefits from that, employing younger people, particularly new graduates and all that sort of stuff. But the insight from like a pop culture level that they bring into our agency is actually really, really powerful when we need to authentically identify with the products and services and everything else that we're trying to sell and sort of build that messaging for our clients. So I think where traditional agencies battle is they stay and they've had a model that's worked for them so well for decades now. But I guess being a little bit younger, being a bit smaller as a team, and being really focused on this particular age group, we can be that little bit more agile. And so that allows us to pivot and be quicker and do stuff quite fast and more effectively.
So speaking of new models, I think I'd get shot if I didn't ask this, but TikTok, we have to talk about TikTok. What in your opinion is the future of TikTok?
Oh man, I remember at the start of the year, I was speaking at the chamber about TikTok. I'm like, one of my mates, he's in another agency in town, he's like, hey man, can you be on this panel about TikTok? Because I'd just been like raving on about it. And like my team were just like, Clive, you're so lame. Like you're too old. You shouldn't be on TikTok. I'm like, I'm there for it. And look, then the COVID lockdown happened and stuff, and it just blew up. Yeah. It just became this, like now everyone knows it, and people recognise that it is, I'd say, the next generation of sort of, not necessarily Facebook, but that's where a lot of those younger people are. Yeah. And it really just goes to show that the younger generation are communicating in a very different way. Yeah. When we think about when Facebook came around for us, it was all text based. There was a bit of Twitter, there was Messenger, MSN Messenger, all that sort of stuff. But now it's all like visual, it's all video, and kids now have the ability to, all of them have a basic ability to edit videos, and that really changes the way that they think. The skill sets they have and stuff. So I mean, for example, for us as an agency, the minimum requirement to work at Antony and Mates is you have to be able to edit video, because that's where we see the market going. And so I guess that's kind of what we try to reflect. So I think TikTok's going to keep growing. They're going to have to build some sort of messaging facility in there just to create more connection, or they're just going to turn into another YouTube. So
it's just another content platform.
Yeah,
isn't
exactly.
It? So, and that's it. I mean, all these young people are content producers themselves, pretty good at it. They've got an audience, they've got a platform, and you're more senior, and by more senior, I probably mean 30 and above, business owner. Probably tries to put out an advert that's less polished than them brushing their teeth or whatever.
Yeah. So and that's the thing with TikTok, right? Like, you can spot an ad from a mile away on TikTok. And to be honest, we're still sort of thinking and conceptualizing how can we authentically advertise on TikTok. TikTok have just opened their business manager, so we're an agency that's got access to that. So we're having a bit of a play around on what that looks like on like paid advertising and everything. But still, it's just there's a lot of it that we had another potential client came up to us like, oh, we want to get onto TikTok, and I said, look, you can, but we can't do it for you because I don't think it's going to work for what you're trying to achieve and sell. And it's pretty weird when you have to sort of just say no to people because you obviously want to try all different work, but we're just really, really focusing on creating content, creating messaging that's really going to authentically work for the, for people trying to capture the Gen Z market.
Yeah. And so, there are all these platforms out there. Like you say, people are still using Facebook, people are still there. Yeah, Instagram again seems very content orientated. You've got your Snapchats, TikToks. But what should people be looking to do now? You know, your typical Kiwi business owner that's watching this, what should they be looking to start to do?
Because there's so many content options out there, there's so much to consume, that's not necessarily a good thing. And so I would be saying to people who are consumers, but also business owners as well, to the consumers I'd be saying, like, really curate what you want your news feeds to look like from an organic level. Even though organic reach is really, really small at the moment, because Facebook are pushing that paid stuff, still really curate it. So I've made a habit whenever I'm scrolling through Facebook now, if I see an ad that I don't really like, I actually, this may be just me being an ad nerd, I don't think everyone would do it, but I go to top right and you can sort of click down and you can see, why am I seeing this? And you can actually see some of the information that Facebook's using to target you. And there's another option that says, I don't like this ad. And you can click on that, it asks you why, and you say, it doesn't relate to me. And I've kind of gone into a habit of doing that more and more, because I don't think you can compete with the algorithm if you're going to be online. So you might as well get that tailored and curated as much as you can. So I don't know if it's a very common opinion, but I think there's no point fighting it. You might as well just help curate it as much as possible.
Oh, well, I think it's a really valid point that you make, because it's scary. I've got, you know, 2 Facebook profiles. I've got my work one and my personal one. And that personal one was just over years naturally political persuasion or particular things it might be. And I realised that I got in where I consumed most of my news, I only got one opinion.
Yeah.
And that is so dangerous.
Yeah.
And the division that creates. So I intentionally, when I set up the work one, I was like, right, let's go like all the political parties.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I even joined the other day Winston Peters for Prime Minister. I just thought this is going to balance out some opinion for me, right?
Yeah.
Because I just think that's so crucial. But it's you have to be conscious of doing it, because if you're unconscious to it, you just get your own opinion re-encouraged back to you the whole time.
Yeah,
so you you get off Facebook and you go, oh, I knew I should be ruling the world, you know?
Yeah, exactly. No, it is about just being really, really aware of, I guess, what you're consuming and doing what you can to sort of just keep an open mind and stuff.
And so what are advertisers doing, right? So if advertisers are getting that information out there to Gen Zers, what should they be looking at doing?
It just comes back to the A word. It's actually just being authentic. There's almost like there's 2 trains of thought, right? You could be really, really bullish about it and just think what is going to get the attention of people. And there's I guess the level of ethics would be missed if you kept on doing that. You think about meme culture now at the moment, right? Yeah. It's all about the attention. It's all about just grabbing that sort of that sound bite, that headline. And so that's a train of concept and theory and advertising that can work. And you can grab that attention. But what I would say to that is, if you're going really wide and capturing that attention, the audience might not be a rich audience. And so, fine, you might have reached 50,000 people, but of that 50,000, there's probably maybe 2, 3, 4,000 that are really rich and authentic to your messages. And how you're going to find that 5,000 within the 50. So I'd either rather cut that and stick to getting attention of those 5,000 first and foremost. It can be a little bit more expensive, can take a little bit longer, but then you're building a really, really cool database. So it is just really identifying and understanding the customer. So that's actually where you need to have a good relationship with your client, because you're not really advertising to your client, you're really to the client's client, aren't you?
Yeah.
So if you can understand the marketing manager or the client or the GM or whoever you're dealing with, and get as much information as you can from them about their clients, and then it's actually just about understanding and doing what we do as advertisers to authentically market to them.
And share that. So really, you're to summarise that, to build a successful campaign with Gen Zers, first start by building the community of Gen Zers. And that's where the authenticity comes in, isn't it? Because you've actually got to spend the time to make them feel special, listened to, encouraged. Are there any effective campaigns that you can do with them then, where it's like a kind of design your own this, or pick a cause to donate to, or is it a case of getting them involved in the product, the process?
Yeah, so I think the first bit is like, I think every person is now trying to tap into a social cause and stuff like that. And so now we're kind of seeing sort of effective people like, oh yeah, classic, but just them trying to reach us. So I think the difference between millennials and Gen Z is what we used to do for millennials is actually create the community. But I think for Gen Zs, we're actually saying, hey, look, let us as a brand be part of your community that already exists.
Right.
And so we almost want to be part of what they're already doing.
Right.
And then from there you build trust. And once you've got trust, then you can go into conversion.
Yeah. So you're not creating the hangouts, you're kind of gate crashing them. And
a little bit. And so it's that gate crashing piece, right? Yeah. It's just like, you don't go in there real hard and be like, yo, what's up? Like, what's another cool person? We're a cool brand. What's going on? Like, you got to just like take the time, actually really, really show that you really, really mean the values that you stand for as a business, and that's why that they should be part of that business's and that brand's journey. Yeah. Once you can get that piece right, the conversion is going to come through.
And I guess it's I guess it's sort of like a pillar of advertising, which you're almost reinforcing, which is actually understanding and knowing your audience. What are the things that they're actually into? Which I think you mentioned, like having the younger staff in your team.
Yeah, definitely. So I mean, for me, what I enjoy with my work is that strategic direction, right? Yeah. But from like a content and from a creative perspective, I don't have much of a hand in that because I think there's a lot of other people in my team that are really, really good at conceptualizing, different industries and different ideas and stuff. And the cool thing for me is actually to come back to the office after this and be like, sweet, where are we at with this? And they come up with a really cool idea. Yeah. And that's awesome. And so for me, it's like, okay, how do I take this idea and make it, how we commercialize that and use that properly from like an advertising perspective. That's kind of the role that I play.
Turn those ideas that it might have, might be a bit weighted in, say, ideology, and then making them commercially sound. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. And that's it. I mean, we're a young team. Most days in the office, I'm one of the oldest. So at the age of 35, I get told, okay, boomer, quite regularly, or told to stop being a Karen.
So apparently I'm a 90s boomer. Apparently that's a thing.
You're a 90s
So it's just like, you're born in the 90s, but you kind of act like a boomer.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't think
I was going to say I'm like a boomer trapped in a millennial's body, but I'm not. I'm a boomer trapped in a boomer's body with like a millennial's birth certificate.
I like that one, actually. That's quite good.
Struggles are real.
Thanks once again for joining us today, Clive.
Always a pleasure, man.
And if you're picking up what Clive is putting down, be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you aren't already a member, check out our Sidekick Business Lounge on Facebook. We'll probably link to that below.
Yeah. And we'll link to Clive as well in his pages. So thank you very much.